Very good morning and afternoon and evening, everyone, wherever you are live with me or you watching the recording of our podcast, our uh, group coaching session. I very warmly welcome to my Zoom audience and also the people who have access to watch me, listen me on Facebook. I'm your host, Maratib Ali Shad, uh, and uh, we are doing every Sunday this session uh, for on behalf of online lifelong study circle, which basically purpose to fill out the gaps for those things for those hidden dimensions of our life which remained unfulfilled, which remained blank, and which are very important to understand, which our school, colleges, and societies never try to fill it, and we never have this awareness before. Uh, on the first session, we will continue our online study course, which we started around 12 weeks ago on Introduction to Advanced Listening Skills, and we are in week number 13. We had covered a lot of stuff last week. Today we are specifically going on our next topic, which is very important again, and that is how the listening skill is related with perception, reception, and attention. Is a very foundational topic, even though we have covered 12 weeks already, but still it's foundational topic for our understanding that how we perceive someone message and how we receive it and how we give attention and how does it help to understand and start the conversation. So that's it. The mostly paragraph I have taken from the book Madeleine Burley Allen, which is recommended by my teacher Stephen Covey, and the book title is "Listening: The Forgotten Skill." So basically, is not listening. You must already know that listening is more than what you are. So listening is actually your whole personality. When you are listening someone, it means that you are not only listening with your ears or watching with your eyes or through your other few things. Listening is actually whole of you, everything involved in uh, your listening activity, which is going on. Start from mind, eyes, my five senses, my heart, my emotion, my background, my experiences, my self knowledge, but knowledge of the things, knowledge, vocabulary, language, my schooling, my college, my university, my all nurturing effect on this listening. So listening is something really, really powerful activity for not only building the relationship, but also understand with fully clarity the other person. And listening involve in my personal development, in my personal relationship in my home with my wife, with my partner, with my husband, with my children, with my colleagues at work, um, when I'm socializing, and also in parliament, in other in politics, and everywhere almost listening does impact. But unfortunately, we do not have training how to listen and what is a good listening, what is a bad listening. We never discuss this because we did not give its importance. That is a flaw. That is uh, what is called a big gap in our societies, in our academia, in our training industry as well. But good news is that you are lucky that you are going to learn it with me. I'm also learning it with you. I'm facilitating this in form of this session and on my PowerPoint slide and with notes, with some discussion, with key question and their answer, and of course, learning never ends. So that's it. This is my thumbnail, which I prepared it for today's topic. Um, Let me put the chat. Someone is on the chat. Okay. Oh, hello. Hi, Javeria. I welcome to our session.
Thank you, and I'm feeling so excited because I'm attending session after so many weeks.
Yeah.
We're so glad to see you, Javeria. I'm so glad you're here. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. No problem. Amazing. So, how the perception, reception, and attention works. Before we going into the perception, reception, and attention is actually the part of a quick mini series which we decided to start last week, and the series name is the barriers between listener and speaker. So that we will cover in next 4 5 weeks in different topics. So today's topic, how we can remove the barrier between listener and the speaker. The main topic which we are going to cover is about perception, reception, and attention. And next week we will cover is another topic in this, and then we will continue to cover this. So sounds like it's very important for me, and maybe it will be important for you because it will help me to better my relationship, and it will also help me to making me a pure person rather than a pretend person who is listening um, to the wife, to the husband, to the partner, to the friend, but not as a genuine person. But it will help, it will enable us, it will tap our genuine personality, genuine character as well, because we are going to learn how to listen the way it should be. So, the perception, reception, attention is actually 3 stages when we uh, tend to listen with other. So, it is very complicated, and there are 2 levels in my teaching, in my uh, mind at the moment. The first level of this understanding is a basic level, which is we are doing in everyday life, which we are learning, and which we will go through on this session as well. The second level is philosophical, is more spiritual, and it's more deeper. Probably I will not go it because we are not in philosophy class or spirituality class. I will try to keep it on the basic level so that because the content is on a basic level, but it's very important as well. It's not like that. But I will try to put some deepest touch as well because perception is always a very complex topic, and because perception is something which we perceive, and what we perceive is mean that we perceiving, we giving the meaning from my own experience, from my own understanding, which is definitely different from my partner, which is definitely different from my boss. So if 5 people, 10 people are watching the same video, are watching the same image, it does not mean that all are receiving the same meaning. Everybody will have a very different perception of what they are viewing, what they are watching is enough. So that's why when every person have a different perception, it means that their realities are different. They think that they will think, their mind start to manipulate, their mind start to give the meaning according to their own reality, what they think. And that is a receiving which we do by our mind. So our mind start to receive it, uh, whether it's positive, whether it's a negative, whether with a very poor emotion, whether it's with very strong emotions. So after perceiving, we receive anything from our speaker, and then our mind still decide whether I need to give attention it or not, or what level of attention I need to give. So more people who are more attentive, and let's say in a classroom, let's say in a meeting with the colleagues, if they are giving so much attention, it means they are well receiving, and they are well perceiving as well. So that is very important topic to understand. And uh, and obviously when we listen someone, usually in our everyday life, for example, if I am talking, or I want to listen views of my wife or my husband on particular topic, uh, or particular everyday activity, so I will try to be very selective, because I'm looking for some specific information out of discussion, with my wife, with my husband, or with my boss, with my colleague, with my friend. But that actually will lose the thing. Really, the other talker is going to talk with you. The talker, the speaker, which is going to uh, which is sharing something with you, which is speaking something with you, you will actually lose what actually she or he said. And that is a problem with the listening as well. So in order to become a pure listener, we tend not to be selective, because listening is very subjective experience. Listening is not objective. Listening is not that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, or 10 plus 10 is equal to 20. Not like that. If we are listening to someone, it means we will listen it with very complexity. We will give it meaning with a very diverse or very complex way, and then our mind will interpret with very different meaning, and then more importantly, what level of attention we are going to give it, with which level of emotions I am. So that's why we are very poor in listening, because our perception are usually biased, very biased. What we are perceiving based on my own prejudice, my own perception, my own frame of reference, and that's why I will have my own biased perception. So it means it will be not based on reality, but it will be my own reality, not the reality as it is. So it means that my mind is going to receive and giving a meaning to my perception something very different. And since my receiving is very different, so my mind will give a very poor or very negative attention if I don't like it. If I don't like my speaker, if I don't like my friend, if I don't like my partner, so my mind will decide not to give attention. So, or pretend to give attention, try to become hypocrite, or try to become a selective listener, or just little bit, you know what I'm talking about. But in order to become a pure listener, Number one, I need to do not to be selective. Listen without any biasness or without my own personal understanding. Rec- Receive the things, perceive the thing as they are, and then my mind will be entirely give attention to my wife, to my husband, to my friend, to my boss, to my coworker. So how this is important for us, this topic is. So let's start our reading for today. And today we have also an example as well for how two people they are talking with each other and how they receive the message, perceive the situation, then receiving uh, on the receptor level, and then how they give the attention to get what desired result or very different result. So we will do this little experiment as well in our reading quickly. But before that, we need to deeply understand what we're talking about perception, reception, and attention. Sounds like good. Um so let's go our reading today. So first two pages will be starting by Jenny, if she can start, and then Mike, and then Vicky, and then Javeria. So let's start our reading today. So I would ask Jenny if you can start reading. Um, yeah.
Perception, reception, attention. Listening is a highly selective, subjective experience. Information that conflicts with the listener's present ideas and beliefs may simply be tuned out. When we expect to hear certain things, we don't listen to what is really said. Present in each situation is perception, reception, and attention. Depending on the situation and the listener's motives, different mental interactions between these three and the listener may be activated.
Yeah.
It is important to realize that both the talker and the listener have power. When we ignore the importance of listening, we do a disservice to the value of listening. For example, our perception about a person, a situation, or a subject can influence our reception and how much we will pay attention. We sometimes only pay attention to what interests us or what we like about the talker. On the other hand, the more we are receptive to people or to their point of view, because of our positive perceptions, the more we will pay attention to what they say. In other words, if our perceptions are positive and non judgmental, we will be more receptive to what is going on or being said, which in turn increases our interest.
Thank you very much. It's a great reading and very well read as well. So there are so many things which Jenny just has read for us, and quite straightforward and self-explanatory as well. However, there is one important point which I want to point here, that our reception and our attention depend on how we perceiving uh, the idea, the voice, the scene that we are viewing. That all depends on our perceiving or our perception, because everybody has a different perception, may have a different perception. Therefore, everybody has a different reality about things. So everybody has a different reality of things. Then the question is, what is truth? What is actual reality? What it should be? Now, here many people have a different view about perception. Some people say that the perception is actually a reality. For example, if I have a glass uh, and it's half full, it's a half full everyone. I mean, uh, so can somebody describe if or is describing what they are seeing in my hand. I think everybody will see it's a glass uh, half full of water. Uh, but in reality, everybody will have a different meaning what I have. Based on the situation, they may have a different meaning. For example, some people think I'm holding the glass as a negative situation and take a negative meaning from out of what I'm speaking or from my background, what is going on my background. Uh, and somebody will take a positive meaning by seeing the glass half empty. Actually, they can say is a half empty, and somebody say is a half full, and somebody say I don't like what you talking about, and somebody say I like the idea what you talking about, and somebody can say I completely overwhelmed what you are talking about here. And somebody can say, I completely think that you are completely irrelevant what you're talking about. So many people have a different and complex thing in the mind, even though they are experience the same event. And that's why listening is very different and unique for everyone. Uh, so, uh, now going forward to making listening more genuine and more based on reality without biasness, we have to be non-judgmental, because once our mind already ready that I'm a positive listener. If I say I'm a positive listener, I see the things positively without any judgment, without my biasness, without my personal prejudice, without my personal negative past experiences. If I'm ready and I'm consciously aware about this thing, then every relationship, every listening, or every action which I'm taking with my partner, with my in my at my work, or in my society, in any location, I will be a very positive person, and that my receiving will be very positive, and hence I will give attention to everything with fully attention, which we usually call it positive. For example, when we talking about our wife or husband or our any partner, co-worker or with friend, the other person may say, oh, you are a very positive man, that's the thing which I'm talking about. Why we receive this comment or this feedback? Because we are giving positive attention to the talker. That's why. And why we giving the positive attention? Because we are receiving all things very positively, without my prejudice, without my own biasness. And why I am receiving without my prejudice and bias? Because I deliberately, consciously is a non-judgmental mind, is a non-judgment five senses. And that's why I'm thinking everything positively. So that is a miraculous tool or power with everybody have already. Just we need to be aware about this thing, and then we will be a great listener, and our relationship will be based on very very qualitative degree, and what we call it genuine relationship we will be achieving as well. Sounds like good. And so anybody has a question so far, or people?
Miss
Yeah, Javeria, you have. Okay, no. I would ask some of my Facebook friends as well if they have a question. Okay, no, so far, no problem. So let's go further and we will read it further before we going into our practical experiment, which we will do going to be today. That how, uh, okay, let's go for reading first because we are short of time. Uh, so I would ask Mike if you can read this paragraph, and then after that, Vicky can read the next one.
When I am with a group of people in a training seminar who are interested in the subject I'm presenting because of positive perceptions, they are open to more of the concepts and ideas. They will more than likely act on these ideas for their own personal improvement. The more important the subject is to them, the more listening involvement they get into. In other words, the more relevant my material is to their personal or professional goals, what they want to get out of life, or what they want to prove to themselves, the more they listen to what I have to say and the less they tune me out. As mentioned in chapter 2, one of the filters to listening is values. What a person values will in turn influence how attentive and receptive he or she will be. For instance, if I'm discussing ways to improve one's ability to communicate more effectively through increased listening skills, and a person doesn't see the value in doing this or doesn't care, very little of what I say will be listened to.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a good reading. That is also again it's very clear from what Mike has just read. Um I think filters, uh, what we have, these filters actually are limitations within ourselves uh, through which we perceive different things. And our listening experience, meaning of the talkers of the scene will be very different what we going to have in our mind, and or how we are giving values to the situation as well. Uh, so let's continue to go to read it, and I would request Vicky if she can read it as well, and then after that, Javiria can read next one.
It also follows that when groups aren't particularly interested in the subject or disagree with what I say, they tend to gradually pay less attention to what is said. We tend to disregard people who are speaking from a conflicting viewpoint. We often ignore those we don't like or don't respect, even though what they have to say may be important and necessary to get our jobs done. These factors, perception, reception, attention, happen unconsciously. Often people aren't aware of the internal process that distracts them from listening at level 1. Once we pay attention to what the speaker is saying because of a positive perception, our feelings about it and the way it sounds to us will influence our reception of and attention to what is being said. When you feel good about what is said and it makes sense to you or sounds right, you are receiving the information through your 5 senses. Using your 5 senses allows you to get fully involved with the information and be open to listening at level 1. Even smell and taste affect what we listen to. For example, have you ever tried to listen to someone with bad breath, body odor, or while eating something you find really delicious or distasteful?
Thank you very much. It's a great reading. So One point I want to highlight here only, and then we will go for next practical session after the Javeria's reading, that all these perception, reception, and attention occurs within ourselves internally and unconsciously. Mostly people, or we, everyone, mostly live a life unconsciously, or at least with subconscious mind. However, the people who are fully enlightened, now I'm talking about little bit spiritually, when people are very spiritually uh, strong, then their every moment of life or every activity is more alertness, based on more alertness and more with awareness. So when there is more alertness, when there is more awareness, then they will do any work or listen anyone with more focus. And once this more focus is going to be in practice, then uh, we all situations are perceiving consciously. And when we are consciously, it means we are receiving, we are viewing, we are hearing genuinely without my any prejudice. And that is the difference between a mediocre listener, like we all are, including me, and an ideal a listener who is enlightened person or who have more strong spirituality. Uh, it's like that, for example, like Madeline, she said, for example, have you ever tried to listen someone with bad breath or body odor or while eating something you really delicious or distasteful? And also, if you see that when we are doing multiple tasks at the same time, for example, I'm watching some movie or listening news on television, at the same time I'm eating, at the same time I'm talking with my family, yeah, and also I'm scattered everywhere. So I'm not giving quality time to everyone. I'm not giving quality attention and focus to anything. So what this situation all I'm doing, I'm I will say that I am unconsciously living because I am doing the things without my conscious mind or conscious soul. So therefore, whatever I will be listening is very poor listening. Whatever I am giving attention will be very selective attention. Whatever I'm receiving from news, from talking here, will be based on my prejudice, will be based on my own faulty perception. I will call it faulty perception, and hence my relationship will be very poor everywhere. And then I will be mourning that oh, I talk with you, I always listen to you, but still you don't understand me. You still, so that is a problem which many couples they do each other, that I love you very much, but other person say no, you don't love me because you don't understand me. And this don't understand mean that the husband or wife, maybe they pretend to listen each other with very selective things which they want to do, and therefore because of faulty perception, because of selective nature, because of limited attentive abilities, we live unconsciously, and hence I will not be able to understand my wife, my husband, my friend, my boss, my colleague, my opposition party in politics, my opponent, my enemy, or any other person. So this is a very limitation what we have, unfortunately. But good news is we can be master on this. We can do this. That's why we are in this session, to learn it deliberately, learn it consciously. So now I would ask, request to Javeria if she can read it, this.
Factors such as the information not sounding good, not making sense, or not ringing true act as filters because they are the result of values and past experiences. These filters result in the closed mind. Have you ever talked to someone with a closed mind? Worse than talking to a wall is not it. Listeners with closed mind focus on disagreeing on what is not right or not or no or on what is wrong. This negative process can be discouraging experience for the talker.
Thank you. It's a great reading. Thank you, Javeria. Uh, Now there is again a point which I want to make here, that we are going more advanced in this topic now. And now we are talking about the people who listen with a closed mind. Have you ever experienced the closed mind people? Yes, I do. Maybe I may act like a closed mind person when I was talking with someone. Now, the closed mind is that mind which actually perceive, receive, and give attention to the talker with too much biasness, with too much prejudice, with too much filters. Without filters. With filters, I mean to say. So with lot of filters, when that person will talking with that will called closed mind, and you will not have any significant positive outcome of this discussion. And that we mostly do with our family, with even at work, and also in other location in our society as well. So listener with closed mind, they mostly disagree, all the time disagree. Oh, no, 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 I know. Oh, no, no, you are wrong, you're wrong. You don't understand, it was not like that. So we all the time um, uh, are more obstructing the speaker rather than to listen, to understand from where they are coming from. And that's happened. So in any discussion, if you are mostly disagreeing, like in a let's say you are talking with your husband, or you're talking about with your parents or with your children, or at work with co-worker, or you are talking with a customer, or you're talking with your supplier, or you are in politics talking with your opposition member of the parliament. If you are disagreeing on the things which they are saying to you or they are discussing, more probably you are listening it with close mindedness. That is called close mindedness, because most of the time you are disagreeing and you are labeling them or their discussion or their sentences with wrong, right, and that is very discouraging for other person who's talking about. And that's why we don't go and we don't move forward, and hence the lock, we call it uh, we become locked in clouds of disagreement, and that the talker become discouraged. For example, if you belongs to opposition party and I belongs to a ruling party in a government, and I'm talking with you on a certain topic which is important for the country, and the other opposition party with close mind will categorically refusing what I'm talking about, what my argument or my reasoning about, then what will happen? As a ruling party member, I will be discouraged. I will have more like disappointment, and the other person as an opposition party member, their closed mind or their prejudice will uh, create not to move forward further, and hence there will be a deadlock between opposition and between the ruling party, and hence the whole country will suffer because of this deadlock on certain issue. And that happens at home as well, when wife has some other things to focus and husband has other things to focus, and both are not ready to perceive each other with their own understanding, and hence a disagreement is start, and then of course there will be a problem as well. At the same time, we this happens with between seller and the customer, when the seller is trying to sell their product and service to the customer, uh, and trying to convince that why this product is not covered under warranty, but the because the customer has decided that this company is not good, that negative perception will not be minimized, because this negative perception about the company has closed the mind of the customer. So any positive thing or any solid argument which the seller is trying to convince the customer about the product or its quality, customer will never understand, and hence the customer will leave a negative review on internet, or try to forcefully refund, or give a tough time to the seller as well. And this is happening every time. You see what the significance of this importance of listening. Now we're going to the further next uh, up experiment, and that experiment is actually a conversation between two co-workers. um, Now the time is quite high. I think I have to cover the other as well. Let me see if we can cover. Yeah, there are 4 paragraphs still for this. So maybe we can continue from this conversation next week. That how perception, reception, and attention can be improved, and and when it's not good. uh, or you want me to cover this now? Sh- shall I continue to for this for
We're
this?
good here.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's continue for this. Okay, so now in this picture, if you perceive that there are two co-worker, they are discussing uh, a personal problem with each other. Personal mean personal professional problem. One of the co-worker has a problem with the boss, and other person is listening the other, and we need to see how the other person is listening, and we need to learn from this, and then we will and we will discuss here, right? Mike, Javeria, and Jenny, you all three will tell me, did the listener listen properly or not, uh, or what it should have been done. So this is the experiment for you to understand how we listen actually. So I'm not. We are going. This is a story that there is a two co-worker, Jim and Dave. So Jim has something to talk, and Dave is listening, and we need to understand what happened, what went wrong. Jim did not speak well, or Dave did not listen well, or Dave listened very well, and Jim did not speak well. What happened? So I'm putting this experiment for your own learning, and we will discuss what happened. So we will read it and we will learn from this discussion, and we need to evaluate the listener response and the speaker response as well. So let's try to focus what this discussion is going about. So I would ask Jenny if you can read it for us, and so that we can focus. Mike can focus, Vicky can focus, Javiria can focus, and we can learn that what went wrong actually. And I know that everybody has a different answer, but we need to know actually. So let's read it, Jenny.
Okay. Hey, Mike, do you want to be Dave and I'll be Jim?
Sure.
Okay. All right, I'm Jim. You're Dave. I just don't know what I'm going to do about my boss. He's always picking on me for little things I do, and he says are wrong.
You should talk to him about why you're upset.
Yeah, but I couldn't do that. He'd make life miserable for me.
Well, you ought to ignore him and not let him bother you.
Yeah, but then I'd be letting him get away with his lousy behavior, and he'd never change.
Well, you should quit and get another job.
Yeah, but I need the money, and the way the job market is these days, I probably wouldn't be able to find another job for months.
Why don't you take out a gun and shoot him?
I never.
Yes, by this time, Dave is completely exasperated with Jim.
I would never expect that the mic have this temperament.
And I'm not a complainer, so I'm totally nothing like Jim.
Okay, very well.
Shows how good of an actor I am.
No, it is.
I thought you did quite well, actually.
Okay, very well. This scene was very great portrait by Jenny and Mike. And let's discuss quickly and perceive what happened, and in this conversation, what went wrong. So Dave responded, of course, responded with certain mindset, and Jim also was responding to the Dave response as well. So of course, this situation I don't want to comment from my own answer that who did wrong, it should not be done. So everybody in the audience, you should know, or you try to find what went wrong. So the first answer, when the Jim was complaining about the boss, the Dave response, you should talk to him about you are upset. That is a Dave response. And then Jim was scared that if he will talk with the boss, he will make his life more miserable. And Dave again further said, you ought to ignore him and not let him bother you. And then Jim again say, uh, he will not change. My boss is a stubborn person, and he or she will cannot change his behavior or her behavior against me. And then Dave said, why you should not go for another job. And then Jim say, oh, there is unemployment, and he can't find a job. It's very difficult, you know. And Dave then further said, shoot him, or, of course, it's a sign of aggression, disappear from the Dave. Or Dave actually responded at the last, something really wrong. So what happened? Of course, Dave was a listener. Yeah. Did he My few question to you, and you will answer. Did Dave respond as a good listener? If not, then why?
So Dave was offering solutions. Every time Jim would complain about his issue, Dave would be like, why don't you just do this? Or why don't you just do that? And Jim didn't want to hear that. He just wanted to complain about the boss, not talk to him, all the reasons why he couldn't. And Dave was about, you can. So finally at the end, Dave makes more or less something, ridiculous that he didn't mean at all, but he was just trying to be at this point sarcastic. So he first tries with talk to the guy. Of course you should do that. That didn't work. Ignore him then. That didn't work. Well, quit and get another job if you're so unhappy. That didn't work. And finally he says, well, why don't you just shoot him then? And he's just kidding. But he's just like offered so many solutions at this point that Jim just wanted to complain, and he didn't want a solution, is the way it looks to me.
Well explained.
Well,
Yeah.
I was looking at it in a different light.
Yeah.
I was thinking that Dave really didn't show real interest in what Jim was saying, because he didn't lead Jim to talk about it. He just kept offering solutions for everything he said. He didn't really ask why he felt that he was having a problem, and there it was like he offered an answer to everything Jim said, like he really didn't want to talk.
Absolutely. That's a great another view which Jenny was explaining as well. Yeah, very well spotted. That yeah, Javeria, what's your finding?
As Mike said, yeah, Dev is not fully responding, fully showing his interest. But if I was the place of Dev, I said, why not go on Pluto instead of shooting gun?
Yeah, that's right. And Vicky, do you have any other view other than Jenny or Javeria and Mike? Or
I was just wondering why Dave didn't ask Jim more leading questions as to what was going on, and offering maybe different solutions, just delving into it a little more in detail. But he just kind of gave these, just kind of pat answers, but he really didn't show the interest as to kind of delving into it in detail as to why Jim was feeling the way that he was.
Oh, excellent observation. Yeah, you spotted one of the thing as well. Dave should ask more open question to Jim for finding out what's going on. That's how the listener or friend should empathize with other. That's a great point you mentioned. Well done. So there are different view of the same conversation between Jim and Dave, and of course Jenny and Mike both did act as on this as well. Now let's go and in an ideal situation, how Dave should have behaved or listened to the Jim. That's our next learning point as well. Okay. And
I want to say something.
Yeah.
I just learned something, Maratib.
Yeah.
First of all, Dave and I have a lot in common. Maybe I should have been Dave. Because I didn't even realize until right now that when someone complains to me, I think that they are looking for a solution to the problem. And it was so great the way the other class, Mike and Javaria and Vicky brought up that you should be a better listener and find a little more about the problem before you just attempt to solve it, which is interesting because in sales, I do ask the questions to find out more when I'm trying to find out the need of someone in my insurance product. I really want to know what they need. I don't want to just sell them whatever based on what they're telling me. I want to find out a little more so that I can get them the best product. But then on a personal life, I need to ask more questions based on what you guys just said. I'm not doing that. I was thinking, who is this Dave? I could marry Dave. Dave gets it, But I mean, basically, I don't need to be Dave. I need to ask more questions. So I just learned something.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, that I also learned yesterday when I was preparing this slide and making a notes of this for you. That usually when I talk with my partner, with my wife, with my children, with my customer, mostly they or me, we more tend to be on solution, or you should be do this, or why you did not do, try this, do this. So rather than, so when we are listener, we tend to give solution, we tend to give something always solution oriented rather than to understanding that thing which is really missing, and which I did learn deliberately as well, that first we have to understand with empathy, with empathic approach, and then if we need, then we need to give solution. If someone asks you, then we need to say okay, otherwise your solution will be or will be dismissed, like Jim dismissed Dave's old solution, 1 2 3 old solution, and then Dave became so frustrated and said go and shoot him. So that how the listener, so basically Dave did not give himself as a powerful listener, so he behaved like a ordinary listener, and like we all start to give solution, and without understanding, without listening as a friend. And by the way, Jim did not ask for solution. Jim was just describing his feeling, and Dave is just continuously providing a solution. That is absolutely wrong. What Dave is doing. So, and because Dave is not a boss for a solution, or Jim and Dave, they are just a co-worker, or just employee in a company. So let's see, in an ideal situation, somebody is entering a class, okay. So somebody, Dave and Jim both started to, Dave started to give solution for nothing. Even Jim is not asking. That is our perception at the moment. Now, the author of this book, she actually rephrase and picturize the whole situation, and gave the right answer, what in ideal situation it should have been. So this is the again a new situation, and we will see the difference. So let's again let's make a quick acting scenario again. So Jenny, you can become a Jim, and Mike, you become a Dave, and let's start it in an ideal situation, how the listeners must be acting like that. So yeah.
I just don't know what I'm going to do about my boss. He's always picking on me for little things I do that he says are wrong.
Sounds like you don't know how to handle your boss when he points out things you do that he doesn't like.
Yeah, he does it a lot. I don't want to tell him about it because it might make him mad. Then he'd probably make life miserable for me.
Seems like you're caught in a double bind. On the one hand, you want to tell your boss what you don't like, and on the other hand, you don't want to tell him because he might get upset with you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel.
It's a tough spot to be in. What kind of options do you have?
Well done. So now you see the difference what the Dave at the end asked the very open question which will lead to a solution. What kind of options do you have, Jim? And before Dave listened and comment like a friend and acknowledged the tension and frustration of the Jim, and 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 then they are now going forward towards options, even not solution, options to do to get rid of this from this situation, to finding the way out. And how does it sounds than what the Dave was behaving before? Now he is more empathic. He is more intelligent friend, uh, and Dave is registering the feelings of Jim as well. And when the Jim says, "That's exactly what I feel," that means that the Dave and Jim both are on the same page. Jim and Dave uh, are in empathic feelings now. Both understand in a true spirit with each other. And that is um, the problem which we just learned with every relationship. When my wife comes and complains to me about something, rather than to give the solution or some showing my authority to my wife, or do this, don't do this, don't do this, just register how she is feeling and take the and consider the complaint as an opportunity to serve her, to become friend of her, to become a empathic partner of her. And when you both are on the same page, and then you can discuss the options to weigh out which the wife was complaining or was concerned of. You see, that when your customer come to you for your poor service or your faulty product and say that, look, I bought it from you, it's 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 not what I was expecting, it's and something, and without you understanding, if you give other way out to come from the situation to your customer, the customer will not feel satisfied. First, you need to be on the same page what the customer is at. Oh, sorry about that. If I would be at your place, definitely I will be in pain. I'm really apologize what you are feeling. Completely, I understand. And you are absolutely right. You are asking for refund. If I would be at your place, I definitely ask the refund. Even I would ask for more than refund, because of my product you feel unhappy and it did waste your time as well. So maybe we can give you some compensation as well. Try to more on the top of the customer feeling. And when customer will see your empathic behavior as a listener, so he or she will take you as your friend, and you will register that customer as a loyal customer forever. And next time, that customer will come again and again and again. So that is a power of the listening, being a true listener. So, uh, yeah, so let's read this last paragraph and then we will finish our topic for today. So, we have our new, I think she is Meet New, if I'm pronouncing. Hi, Meet, can you hear me?
Hi, Maya. How are you doing?
Maybe the microphone is still on mute. But maybe I think she must be listening us. Uh, let's go to the summary of what we learned today from this experiment. So I would ask uh, Vicky if she can read this last paragraph, please.
What about
Notice-
Javeria?
Sorry.
Javeria hasn't gone yet.
Okay, yeah, we can. Javeria can read as well. Javeria, you can. Okay, good.
Notice that the summary of what James said led to agreement on what was happening. In contrast to the preceding example where Jim and Dave disagreed. Also, the summarizing of James' feeling and position helped him to see more clearly what was going on between him and his boss. By being an effective listener, they stayed out of the yes, but intercharge, and by not giving advice, he didn't become a rescuer. Dave and Jim have not solved Jim's problem, but at least they have made progress towards a solution. When Dave provided support as assistant, Jim is talking through the problem. He led the downward pull for future solutions that might have been impossible because of closed mind on James' part.
Thank you. It's a great reading, Javeria. So you see what we were discussing here. It's absolutely what we our mind have learned from the things which author of this book she's advising in what should have been done in ideal situation. I have one quick paragraph in this for this interpretation. When on a first scene, when the Jim and Dave uh, were talking with each other, and Dave was not responding with the proper or with an ideal listener, and that interpretation of that thing. So I would ask um, Vicky if you are able to read it, and then can finish the session.
Notice that each time Dave came up with a solution, Jim spent his listening time thinking of rebuttals to what Dave was suggesting, zeroing in on what wouldn't work. Instead of being open to what Dave suggested and how he might use his suggestions, Jim used his listening time to think of reasons why he couldn't use them. This listening pattern is often perceived as two people going around in circles, and it certainly feels that way to the listener. The problem doesn't get resolved, and the person providing the solutions feels discouraged. In Chapter 2, I suggested that Advice often leads to the rescuer behavior mode. Giving solutions or advice is a double-edged problem. As the preceding example has illustrated, giving solutions can lead to the yes, but interchange, and the rescuer mode can lead to the victim mode. Being a resource person, an effective listener instead of an advice giver, usually works best with those who ask for help and then discount suggestions. You might change to the summarizing technique as illustrated in the following example.
Excellent. It's a great reading. And that the following example I have already uh, showed to you on the screen. When Jim and Dave made an excellent conversation, and Jim was a great talker and speaker, and Dave behaved and acted like a genuine listener, and both ends towards to finding the option for the solution. So that's it, and I hope it has it has clarification uh, and the reason why we should be a better listener, and what is the significance of perception, reception, and attention, and how these three things can remove the barrier between listener and the speaker, and hence we will move forward to build a great relationship with as a husband and wife, or as a parent and children, or as a spouses, or as a partner, or as a friend, as a co-worker, as a seller and buyer, and other location in our society. Next week we will read the same series, the barrier between listener and speaker, and with the new topic, how we can remove that barrier. So I hope that you love and you like today's learning, and my name is Maratib, and if you want to join my YouTube channel, there must be a link under this video. You can join my YouTube channel and subscribe, where I will put also some new stuff, and there is also my blog website as well, where you can find uh, the personal development and professional development related stuff, along with spiritual and philosophical uh, valuable content as well. So next week we will meet you again. I think because of the lack of time, I will postpone my second session on pain body, and we will learn the pain body. I think it's the last episode of pain body next Sunday, because it's already a lot of time is passed. Is that sounds good? That we will do both session next Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay
Excellent,
with me.
excellent. And I would ask that if Mayat, our new, I think the participant, if she can introduce her. I think she has already participated a few times with us in the session.
Yes, good evening. I have participated last 4 weeks ago,
Oh
but
yes,
of time limit, I can join the previous Zoom session.
excellent. Thank you very much. We are excited to see you here again. Uh, yeah, so we in our first session we will continue our online course on introduction to advanced listening skill, and also we will continue our other session on pain body, which is more spiritual and more philosophical, and very important topic to learn as well. So thank you so much everyone, and see you next Sunday.
Thank you, Maratib.
Thank you, Graham.
Informative class. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. Y'all have a good week.
Thank you. Thank you.